Matthew Peterson here, joined by Will Scott for our NFL draft coverage from night one of the 2023 NFL draft. Will, a pretty fun start to this draft night, could you say?
We knew coming in it was going to be unpredictable, might see some surprising moves, surprising trades, and right off the bat, it was wild with the Houston Texans really taking over this draft. They had 2 of the first 3 picks. They get their new face of the franchise quarterback, C.J. Stroud. They also get their best player maybe on defense now, Will Anderson Jr., who, in my opinion, was the best player in this draft. So not only do the Texans add a franchise quarterback in Stroud, they get the best player in the draft in Will Anderson.
Colts go with Anthony Richardson. I have a bit of an issue with that pick because I think he's a project-ish quarterback, and there's no veteran there for him to sit behind. And I also am just not a huge Anthony Richardson believer, but Indy does find their hopeful franchise quarterback for the future. Then Seattle at number 5. The Seahawks are notorious for being impossible to mock, and now you see why. They try and recreate the Legion of Boom, and a good way to do that is to get the best cornerback in this draft class, Devon Witherspoon.
Absolutely agree. I thought Jalen Carter was going to be the pick here at 5. That's what most mock drafts have. They wanted to go corner. Like you said, Petey, might try to recreate the Legion of Boom. Witherspoon, best corner in this draft class. It's a good pick, surprising pick, but it's a good pick.
So then after Arizona traded back with Houston, they actually jumped back into the top 10 again, and they get Kyler Murray, a new best friend, his new left tackle, Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State. Very smart pick by Arizona. New regime there. Go safe. Go with a nice, beautiful left tackle.
Yeah, and they didn't think he was going to fall to 12. Of course, they traded back from 3 to 12. I'm assuming the plan when they did that was to use some of that capital they got from the Texans. And they got a haul, by the way, from the Texans to move back 9 spots, and they move up 6 spots, take Paris Johnson Jr., who Kyler Murray really wanted, apparently.
So then the Raiders have Tyree Wilson fall in their lap, one of the best athletes in this draft. Super bendy, great pick for Vegas. Him and Max Crosby are going to form an awesome duo off the edge. And then Atlanta, they go running back, Bijan Robinson. Like the pick, I know that it's a bit rich for some to go RB at number 8, but Will, I think Bijan's just a full bust-proof kind of pick.
This is one of those situations where I absolutely love the player. I do not like the pick.
I get
Atlanta
that.
had bigger needs on this team. You have Tyler Algier, who was a rookie last year, had a fantastic rookie season. You have Cordero Patterson. I just don't understand going running back there. I thought they should have gone corner. Christian Gonzalez fell a little bit further than people were expecting, though. We'll get to him in a second.
Before we look at the rest of the picks, shout out your favorite team and grade their first round for us. Unless you're an incomplete team like Denver, Cleveland, Miami, San Francisco, the Rams, let us know who your favorite team is and what grade you want to give them. Now, after the Aaron Rodgers trade went down, Green Bay went from 15 to 13, and they took a bit of a developmental pick in Lukas Van Ness. He actually didn't even start his last year at Iowa, but he's got insane upside and ceiling. This is another defensive pick in round 1 for the Packers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought he was going to go a little bit later, maybe in the teens, maybe in the early 20s. But like you said, the upside is there. He's got a really high ceiling and can be a vital part of that Packers defense for years to come.
Broderick Jones goes to the Steel City after Pittsburgh jumped up with New England. Will McDonald goes to the Jets, and a part of me laughed when Aaron Rodgers thought, I got traded to a new team. Surely they won't go defense in round 1. No, they do. Will McDonald, you are a New York Jet. Emmanuel Forbes could probably put on a couple cheeseburgers, but extremely lengthy and physical corner. He's off to our nation's capital. And then my favorite pick in this draft for value purposes, Christian Gonzalez. I thought he'd be a top 8 pick. I thought he could go to Atlanta at 8. He ultimately falls to Bill Belichick at 17. I am sure Bill was maybe smiling for half a second, and then he went back to frowning.
Exactly, because that's who Bill Belichick
That's Bill Belichick.
But he was definitely smiling for a little bit.
On the inside.
Because Gonzalez is an absolute steal. I'm with you, Petey. I thought he was going top 10. I thought worst case, maybe he'd fall to 10th or 11th. But Gonzalez at pick 17, absolutely fantastic value. The Patriots certainly need some more depth on that defense. I thought they might go receiver here, but with Gonzalez on the board, he was just too good to pass up.
I'm a little shocked, to say the least, by the Lions. They went Jack Campbell after Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, you already signed a running back in free agency in David Montgomery. You already had DeAndre Swift, so then you had Gibbs. But then they went out and added Jack Campbell, a linebacker, after you signed Alex Anzalone in free agency to a 3-year deal. I think Campbell's going to be a really good player. I just don't think that's what the Lions needed in round 1 at pick 18. Now, then at 19, Kalasia Kancey goes to Tampa Bay. They are in the midst of finding a new identity. Maybe don't swing for the fences and just take a solid double with an absolute athletic freak like Kancey, who's got insane speed for his size. A little bit reminiscent of a guy who also went to Pitt and then got drafted by the Rams, but I won't go quite far to say his name. And then, Will, we get our first wide receiver.
Yeah, it took a little while, but a wide receiver finally off the board at number 20, Jackson Smith-Njigba, the Ohio State wideout. Of course, didn't play a whole lot this past season with an injury, but I think we all see the upside and the high ceiling there.
We all watched that Rose Bowl game against Utah and thought, boom, you're a first-round pick whenever you want to go to the draft. Now, speaking of the draft, we're going to have coverage for you guys all day tomorrow, day 2, along with day 3. No one goes wall-to-wall like we do at Chat Sports for the NFL Draft, so subscribe if you're not already. After JSN, the wide receiver run started. Quentin Johnston from TCU ends up in L.A. with the Chargers. I thought L.A. might add speed in wide receiver, which would be Zay Flowers. Instead, they go for a similar build to Mike Williams. This one kind of gave me a head scratcher.
I like Johnston a lot. Would I have taken Zay Flowers over him? Yeah, probably. But Johnston, you watched him this past year at TCU. The guy just had the ability to really go one-on-one and really win any matchup that he had in college. And, yeah, it's going to be a lot more difficult in the NFL to win those one-on-one battles. But Johnston certainly has the tools to be really good. I thought L.A. was going to go either wide receiver or tight end here. They needed more help for Justin Herbert. Johnston was solid.
Zay Flowers is another very good pick in my
Love
opinion.
Zay.
He was my favorite wide receiver in this whole draft class, actually. So for Baltimore to get him at 22 without having to move, I mean, Lamar Jackson in the last month went from publicly announced that he requested a trade to getting Odell Beckham Jr., to getting that contract done, to landing Zay Flowers. Things are looking up in the Charm City. Jordan Addison goes to Minnesota. I think this was a bit of maybe a panic-ish pick by Minnesota where they didn't quite expect the board to unfold like this. They lose Adam Thielen, and they figure, well, why not add more weapons for whoever the quarterback is? That can never hurt. And they're not wrong. Deonte Banks then goes to the G-Men, cornerback out of Maryland. The dude is physical, he is mean, and he is tough to go up against. And then, we have our first tight end go, Dalton Kincaid out of Utah to Buffalo.
I can't believe we only saw one tight end go in the first round. This is a deep tight end class. You have Darnell Washington. You have Michael Mayer. So if you're a tight end needy team with a second-round pick, you're going to have some good options. But Dalton Kincaid, arguably the best tight end in this class. I think it was either him or Mayer. Buffalo going with Kincaid there.
Mozzie Smith, fatties only, ends up in Dallas. He is one of the best true run stoppers, but he's more than just a tree stump in the middle of the defensive line. Insane speed and athleticism for his size. That's why he goes round 1. Anton Harrison, you lost a tackle in free agency. That is Jacksonville, Jawan Taylor. They find his replacement immediately. Miles Murphy from Clemson goes to Cincinnati. A similar reason to why KC made the selection they did. If you plan on playing deep into the postseason in the AFC, you have to find ways to bring down Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Miles Murphy can probably help in that department. And then finally, the last 3 picks of round number 1, Brian Bruzzi out of Clemson. He is a very interesting pick. The upside is there if he's available, but we just haven't seen that through his time in Clemson so far. Dabo Swinney at one point called him the best player on their team. Unfortunately, between an ACL injury and some other injuries, he's yet to really put together a full body of work.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy, he can be really good. The problem is we don't know if he can stay healthy. Missed time over his last couple of seasons, just didn't really put together a full season of work. But like you said, the talent's there, and the Saints certainly lost some defensive line depth, Marcus Davenport included. So they needed to go to defensive line here. I thought they might go Nolan Smith, but he was the pick at 30 for Philadelphia. And, man, Philly getting Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter, absolutely wild.
The Eagles, if the Texans won the draft, the Eagles are right there too.
Yeah.
And honestly,
those are the two big winners for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Nolan Smith, he ran a 40-yard dash faster than most wide receivers did. You have an outside linebacker who is coming off a torn pec, and he's never had that true big impact production, only 3 sacks last year for the Bulldogs. But talk to anyone in Athens. They are going to say he was the leader of this team, and Philly just picked up a team captain and a fan favorite for years to come. And to round out the draft, the defending Super Bowl champs stay at home with the K-State edge rusher.
Yeah, Felix Anudike Uzama went to Kansas State, grew up in the Kansas City area. I'm assuming grew up rooting for the Chiefs, so he goes home and plays for the defending Super Bowl champs in Kansas City. The atmosphere tonight, by the way, in Kansas City was awesome.
Chef's
and
kiss.
Anyone who's saying, oh, the draft only needs to be in New York, watch the atmosphere in Kansas City. Watch the atmosphere year after year in these different locations. It's awesome that we're seeing the draft traveling every year. And a shout-out to the crowd in Kansas City. Y'all were awesome tonight.
To close out this video, name a player that should have been drafted in round 1. I'm not going to say Will Levis because I have been on the Will Levis sucks train since it left the station. So Will Levis should not have been drafted in round 1 because he's not a good quarterback. And if you're watching, I'm not sorry. I will go Joey Porter Jr., though.
I'm going to go Joey Porter Jr., also Brian Branch. But the one guy that I'm just absolutely stunned did not get drafted tonight, Notre Dame tight end Michael Mayer.
Good one.
Crazy that he didn't get drafted tonight.